Let me know if this sounds familiar to you. Every single time I have a great idea, lamp almost hit me in the head. It starts up. The self-doubt. Why in the world would anybody actually watch this? I don't think anybody's actually gonna watch this. What's the point of even creating this? Or two, all of a sudden the lack of motivation. Man, I don't really feel like doing this right now. What's the point? Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Or just the all-out fear. Man, if I put out this piece of content or come out with this business idea, people are gonna make fun of me. What would people think? No one's gonna watch it anyway, so what is the point? This reminds me of this really funny Mitch Hedberg joke I heard a long time ago. He said, I'll be laying in my hotel bedroom, super comfortable, falling asleep, and then an idea comes to me. I have a great idea for a joke, and I know that my notepad's across the room and I should go write it, but instead, I just convince myself it's not that funny. And the funny thing is, it doesn't matter if you're a content creator or a business owner, we all can relate to this. What is this obstacle that keeps popping up for me? There's actually a name for it. So in this book, this is out of the shot, what are we doing here? In this book, The Art of War by Steven Pressfield, he talks about this thing called resistance. You see, every single creator, whether you're an author, a business owner, or content creator, we all go through this thing. Lack of motivation, self-doubt, fear. This is all just a ruse to get you away from your common goal. But it doesn't always have to be like this. Steven Pressfield calls it going pro. It's when resistance no longer holds us back. Now, I don't think I'm necessarily a pro, but I've come up with 3 rules every single time I create something to get me away from resistance and become a little bit closer to that professional that Steven Pressfield talks about in his book. So we're gonna do something really simple in this video. I'm just gonna give you the 3 rules that I have followed to help me overcome resistance, to be able to create more content, put out more business offers, so that way I can get a little bit closer to becoming a professional. Rule number 1, make it easy. See, in the past, what I would do is I would have to have this huge setup for making content. I'd have to have my phone, this gimbal that I used, the lighting had to be right, and then not to mention too, I had to get an editor that spent 50 hours on to make sure that it was perfect, and even then, it didn't perform all that great anyway. And that's when it hit me that I really just needed to make it easier for me to create. If I created more often, I would get more reps and I would improve. I would get a little bit closer to becoming a professional. So to do that for me, I simply just got this thing called the DJI Pocket 3. It's the thing that I'm using right now, and the reason why I love it is this tiny little handle. When I have the idea, I have no excuse why I can't just pop it open, hit the record button, and start shooting. This removed resistance entirely for me. Now, I used to post maybe once a month. Now I'm up to 2 times in a week. All I did was just make it easy. Now, for number 2. Stop assuming we're going to solve the world's problems. Again, this is something that I constantly would face. I would have an idea for either a business offer or a piece of content, and I think I have to solve every single problem that maybe the audience would have. So I would jam-pack information into these videos that, once again, people weren't watching anyway. And not to mention too, it wasn't really that helpful. It was confusing. You didn't know the idea, where it was going. And finally, you didn't even know what in the world to do in the first place. So now I kind of make it even more simple. I try to solve one problem with every video. If it goes over that, that's cool. But for the most part, I try to stay within that window of one problem, one solution. This last point is incredibly important. Number 3 is make it non-negotiable. Once again, in The Art of War, Steven Pressfield constantly talks about being a professional. And for writers, for example, how regardless if you have an idea or not, you have to sit down at the typewriter, the pen and paper, the computer, and you need to write. And the reason for that is kind of interesting. He talks about the muse quite a bit and how when you show up for the muse shows up for you. And the muse meaning like this, almost this conduit for great ideas, for great information. And eventually, if you show up enough for it, it will show up for you. How I kind of relate this is every time I didn't show up, I've had a good idea and it would go away. But I felt like that video I would see later on, meaning the muse gave to somebody else. The thing that I constantly remember is if I don't come out with that video, somebody else will. So it might as well be me. So I make it non-negotiable for me to show up and create. Now, every single day as a part of my habit, I create something. Now, it could be a YouTube video, or simply could be a short form video, or it could be just showing up when I have the idea and writing it down. Regardless, it's non-negotiable that once the idea comes, I have to do something with it. And one little tidbit too is part of the non-negotiable for me is once I record, I have to publish. Because again, the more space I give resistance, the more opportunity it will come to ruin my idea. If I give it the space, it will get in the way of me producing the video. So for example, let's say I record this today and I don't edit it till tomorrow. Well, things are gonna come up. Next thing you know, I'm not gonna edit until a week from now, and then I'm gonna forget about what mood I was in when I was making it. What was some of the ideas that I had? How did I want it to look? All that goes away and I'm starting from scratch. Now, guess what? I might as well just not produce it. I'm speaking from experience. This has happened countless times. So we have to make it non-negotiable. Show up for yourself, show up for the muse, and eventually the ideas will kind of take care of themselves. But look, like I said before, I'm not a professional, right? I don't have millions of subscribers. My videos are still improving every single time I do it. So I want to hear from you. What are ways that resistance shows up for you, but also how have you overcome resistance? If you drop it in the comments, there's a really good chance that maybe somebody watching this video isn't going to take my recommendations and it's not going to really help them, but yours could. So leave it in the comments below. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Helps out the channel and helps other people see it too. And finally, I will catch you all in the next video. Oh yeah, one more thing, bonus tip. Coffee.